Welcome to this evening's. Welcome. Let's try this again. This evening we could savor an excerpt from How to Meditate Like a Jedi, and then meditate. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is brought to you by the kind folks who support this channel on Patreon. This is brought to you by the kind folks who support this channel on Patreon. This evening, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two, but first, if you love Star Wars, and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon Tatooine under the guidance of Qui-Gon Jinn, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Good news. If at any time during this evening's live stream you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy or how to apply them to your life, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. All right, so I am in the process of writing a first draft of a new book, How to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is an excerpt from the chapter I Want to Become a Jedi Like My Father, subtitled Why Meditate? This is basically the goal of the first draft is just to get my ideas down on paper. It's not nearly as beautiful as I would like it to be, but it's a first draft. So here we go. Stress is the topic of the first quarter of turning the wheel of Dharma, what many believe to be the first lesson taught by the Buddha after his enlightenment. If such a fellow was more than just an archetype, and despite the insistence of more than 1,000 pseudo-intellectuals, stressors are more than just mental constructs. But do not take my word for it, converse with as many biologists and anthropologists as you can. Okay, that is an excellent question. I'm going to get to the end of this paragraph, and then we're going to hit that. They'll speak to you of stressors, some circumstantial, some physical, some interpersonal, and some mental. In the meanwhile, Patricia, please tell me what are the specific senses you feel are overloaded right now, if you can. And if not, then just use a simile. Natural selection is neither capricious nor cruel, and we evolve the ability to perceive stressors as a survival adaptation. For most certainly our indirect ancestors who lacked this faculty did not live long enough to pass on this trait. Okay. So Patricia, some more information would be helpful. If not, in the absence of details, I'm going to. Oh, here we go. Okay, so light, sound, smell, all of them are elevated. So, and migraine inducing. Excellent. Not excellent that you're in pain, but excellent that I have more information. So, I'm going to start off with some really annoying information. Clearly, I'm not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV. So my first piece of advice is get thee to a physician. Assuming you already have and they were unhelpful or you're waiting to see your physician, my second piece of my second bit would be to consult Dr. Google. Assuming you've done that, I'm not being humble when I'm saying use your spiritual teacher as the physician of last resort. Normally, the advice for meditating is as follows. If you are agitated, close your eyes. If you are drowsy, open your eyes. To avoid both extremes of drowsiness and agitation, hold your eyelids halfway open, or let your eyelids relax, partly closed, not fully. Despite saying that, if you are feeling overstimulated, then I recommend you sit in a comfortable and sustainable cross-legged position with your tushy on a firm cushion. Hold your hands in your lap, palms up, with the edges of your palms lightly touching, resting against your lower tummy. Create a traction between your skull and your pelvis, as if you are trying to pull your head out of your ass. Allow a subtle Mona Lisa smile to play upon the corners of your mouth, the apples of your cheeks, and the crow's feet of your eyes. Believe it or not, this can help. So, bearing that in mind, and please do not be shy as different needs arise or as different needs are not being met. Spell it out for me. Patricia, you've been married for many years. You know that people with penises can be stupid, and we need things spelt out for us. One moment. Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Likewise. So let's go straight to tonight's practice. Okay, Patricia. Patricia, thank you very much for reminding me about the sound. Sometimes, as the chief cook and bottle washer, I feel like the fellow on the Ed Sullivan Show prancing about trying to spin plates on wooden sticks. Welcome to the latest iteration of secular contemplation, mindfulness, and meditation, and adaptation of the Anapanasati Sutta. We begin with Dhammasati, or Anika Vipassanas, Sutta for impermanence contemplations to help us sustainably let go. So in this case, we welcome the opportunity to let go of the experience of overstimulation. Those of us who are prone to migraines, those of us who are neurospicy or autistic, are familiar with being overstimulated. One of the great ironies is that one can be both autistic and experience ADHD, in which both overstimulation and understimulation are specters. Okay, so the audio should be on right now. Please let me know if you can hear me. Well, according to my display, the audio is on, so I shall continue. Splendid. Let's continue. So we're going to play with 4 exercises, which I consider to be the spiritual version of a bhakti tank. This is great for when your father, wearing a breath mask, cuts off your right hand, which is simply not done in polite society. We come to the first of 4 contemplations where we consider course impermanence. We're going to play with a rhetorical question. What could now change? Or better yet, so during our inhalation, we silently and mentally recite what? During our exhalation, we silently and mentally complete the question, is changing? This is a rhetorical question, so it works best if you don't try to answer it. Now, your mind might just start spitting answers out. That's fine if it happens on autopilot. Just don't force it. The important thing is not the answers you get. The important thing is that you are silently and mentally playing with these words in harmony with your inhalation and exhalation and relaxation. So for Patricia, this might be a bit like juggling, because you might momentarily open your eyes to familiarize yourself with the rhetorical question, or you might just close your eyes and listen to my silly voice. What is changing? The inhalation is shorter and sharper. The exhalation is longer and softer. We come to our second rhetorical question. What is fading? Sometimes when we play with these contemplations, the disturbing element fades away. Sometimes when we play with these exact same contemplations, everything fades away, but that which is stressful. Everything fades away, including our sense of self, which is okay. We come to the third of four contemplations, where we consider very subtle impermanence. What is ceasing? we come to the fourth of four contemplations, where we consider relinquishing, yielding, or surrendering, as we play with the sentence, what's releasing? Or if you speak goofy like me, what's releasing? Having completed the first quarter of tonight's practice, please let me know how you feel now, Patricia. We continue with Kaya Sati's first set of 4 preliminary meditations to center our bodies. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. We begin with the first of centering's 4 physical preliminary practices, where we mindfully notice and even investigate our relaxingly long, gentle exhalations. As we breathe in, we silently and mentally recite the verb calm. As we exhale, we silently and mentally recite the phrase breathing long. Doing so reminds us. So it's very easy in meditation to fall into agitation. And so this exercise reminds us that our longer, softer exhalation can serve as an antidote to agitation. Whether that agitation is perceptual, emotional, intentional, intellectual, mnemonic, or phantasmagoric. Next to the word, I'm not sure if you can, well, if your eyes are open, you may notice that to the right of the word mindfully is a teeny tiny subscription that reads first. That is because mindfulness is the first of 7 enlightenment factors. Yes, this is perfect. I'm reminded of the bit that Julie Andrews sang. These are a few of my favorite things. There's a part where she says, when the bee stings, when the dog bites. Is there something I'm forgetting? What else does she say? Well, likewise, when the poop hits the fan, contemplate impermanence. If you've just joined us, welcome aboard. If at any point during this evening's live stream you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy or how to apply it to your life, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. We come to the second of Centering's 4 physical preliminary practices, where we mindfully notice and even investigate the coalescence of our invigoratingly sharp inhalations. Just to the right of the word investigate, you'll see a teeny tiny word second. That reminds us that investigation is the second of 7 enlightenment factors. Now, investigation here is a common choice of translators, but an unfortunate one. I would say being curious. Being curious about what we notice is the opposite of being defensive. How many meditation sessions have been squandered by us defending ourselves, justifying, minimizing, or rationalizing whatever memories or fantasies or emotions cartwheel across the stage of our mind? Far better to be vulnerable and just curious. Not necessarily as to why, just what. What am I perceiving? What am I emoting? What am I intending? And the like. Of course, we don't even have to ask it. It's just an attitude of vulnerability. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the adjective short. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the hyphenated verb energize, a word familiar to all Trekkies. This exercise can remind us that keeping our inhalations shorter and sharper than our exhalations can serve as an antidote to drowsiness, to contemplative drowsiness. Okay, Patricia wrote, okay, that hurts. Okay, so if you're overstimulated, this could be uncomfortable. Let's move on to the next exercise, which I think you will enjoy more than this one. We come to the third of centerings for physical preliminary practices, where we mindfully notice and even investigate our bodies. And this is when we begin wading into the warm waters of very coarse bliss. As we breathe in, we silently and mentally recite the verb feel. As we exhale, we silently and mentally recite the phrase this body. So I'm going to take a moment to review the technique. The inhalation is shorter and sharper. The exhalation is longer and softer. Now, every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system, which has evolved not for concentration, but for mindfulness. Our sympathetic nervous system has evolved for sensory acuity, to notice things vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Think of it this way. A distant ancestor on the plains of the Serengeti. They're so busy concentrating on a ladybug, they don't hear the lioness sneaking up behind him. And our ancestor makes someone a very good lunch. Now consider another ancestor, same place, a week later. They see a ladybug, they hear the breeze in the grass, they hear what might be the footfall of a big cat. It might not, but their senses are alert, and they're completely vulnerable to the perceptual information. They live long enough to pass on their genetic information. We are the descendants of those whose perceptual acuity was defined by being vulnerable, passive, visceral, and random. When we inhale, we can notice all sorts of things. We can notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We could emote, intend, or I should say we could find ourselves emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, or imagining. It's not our job to choose what we notice as we breathe in. It's not even our job to label what we are doing as we breathe in. Just be vulnerable to it. Now, the intelligence question is, what are we to do with all this stuff that we notice? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our parasympathetic nervous system, which is wired for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So, physical relaxation is not something that has to be forced. It's already part of our primal wiring. Well, if we have this primal wiring, why meditate? To align our intention, our will, our volition with the built-in therapist that is our autonomic nervous system. We come to the fourth of Centering's 4 physical preliminary practices, where we allow our bodies to tranquilly relax. As you breathe in, please silently and mentally recite the noun form, which serves as a monosyllabic synonym for body. As you exhale, please silently and mentally recite the hyphenated verb relaxing. Remember, relaxing, truly effective relaxing, is not something we force, it's something we allow. Our body already is wired to relax. Sometimes we just need to get out of our own way, and we can do that simply by aligning our intention with the programming that's already latent within each exhalation. So, Patricia, several minutes ago, after doing the second exercise of this particular set, you spoke to me of the intensification of your symptoms. In the future, you may wish to inhale from the lower abdomen, the part of your body that's touching your hands. And I apologize if I didn't make that clearer previously. Patricia, please let me know how you are feeling. We continue with Vedana Sati's first set of 4 jhana meditations that center our feelings. You might ask, what does jhana mean? Jhana is just a category of meditations. That's all. Well, I'm glad the eye and ear pain have ceased. Excuse me. We come to the first of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices, where we savor the first jhana's blissful joy that flows from gently grinning with the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eyes towards our bodies of flesh, blood, and bone. Now, don't make the mistake I did. I am a star-spangled idiot. I've made virtually every mistake conceivable. One of the many mistakes I have made is indulging perfectionistic impulses and just becoming obsessed with, the subtle Mona Lisa smile. Don't. You've heard the instructions. Your subconscious has registered it. Don't worry about it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. As you breathe in, silently and mentally recite the verb grin. As you exhale, silently and mentally recite the object phrase to body. That's it. Whether you're proud of your body or ashamed of your body, whether you are fully clothed or butt naked on a zebra, whether you are slender, muscular, or corpulent, whether you are you have the body of a Greek deity, or your body could be described in a book whose chapter reads, "Do not let this happen to you." Rubenesque. I would describe it as a body optimized for energy storage. I'll tell you, aging is cruel. Despite my diet and my exercise, my upper abdomen is distended. It looks like I've swallowed the Death Star. We come to the second of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices, where we savor the second jhana's not blissful joy, but peaceful joy that flows from gently grinning with the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eyes towards our thoughts. And here we're using the word thought as an umbrella term. Our thoughts, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining. By the way, joy is the 4th enlightenment factor. During the inhalation, please continue silently and mentally reciting the monosyllabic verb grin. During the exhalation, this time, the object is not our body, but these thoughts. Or to these thoughts, to be more precise. So whether they are pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Have the courage to perceive and grin. So for instance, sometimes we're embarrassed by our thoughts or emotions. For instance, if we feel a bit testy towards a grandchild, towards old Picasso on the walls with the Crayolas, we don't need to exhaust ourselves beating ourselves up for an emotion. Notice the emotion, grin to the emotion, enjoy the show. We come to the third of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices. We savor the third jhana's contentment, which is exceedingly more mellow. We do so by mindfully noticing, investigating, and coalescing our thoughts, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining. Notice that to the right of the word coalescing is a teeny tiny little 6, and I forgot to put TH next to it. Let's deal with that right now. So that refers to tranquility. Is it tranquility? No, it should be. I take it back. It refers to coalescence, the 6th enlightenment factor. So we breathe in. We can silently and mentally recite the verb feel. This is what we did several exercises ago. And as we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the oddly worded sentence or phrase, these here thoughts. Patricia asked, I've heard about some people who do not have an inner dialogue. How could someone with inner dialogue meditate? Well, that just means a spontaneous inner dialogue. You can still play with these words. Meditation is all about living in harmony with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. We come to the 4th of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices. where we savor the fourth jhana's neutrality by allowing our thoughts, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining to tranquilly relax. And of course, tranquility is the fifth enlightenment factor. But let's take a closer look at neutrality. Neutrality does not mean we no longer feel like shoving at some things and reaching for others. Neutrality means we are making peace with our experience. We make peace with our pleasure, we make peace with our pain. We don't lie to ourselves and tell ourselves stories like, oh, I love this pain. But as we play with these exercises in sequence, making peace with the present moment experience becomes easier and easier and easier. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the word thoughts, the umbrella term thoughts. As we breathe out, we can silently and mentally recite the hyphenated verb relaxing. Remember, Patricia, just because someone does not have an inner dialogue does not mean they cannot read. We continue with Chitta Sati's second and final set of 4 jhana meditations that center our mind. We've centered our body, we've centered our feelings, and now we're centering our mind. We come to the first of 4 mind-oriented centering practices. Let's see, this might be easier on the eyes if I choose a different font. There we go. Now we come to the first of 4 mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the 5th jhana sphere of infinite spaciousness, which is the opposite of feeling physically compressed. We do so by mindfully noticing, investigating, and coalescing our mind's ability, and we're using mind here as another umbrella term, to see, hear, feel, taste, smell, and the like. So this is another set, and it's more subtle, more ancient, evolutionarily speaking, than the previous. So we breathe in, we silently and mentally recite the verb watch. As we exhale, we again replay with a oddly worded phrase, this here mind. And no, Pat, you cannot replace the word watch with looky here. We come to the second of 4 mind-oriented centering practices. Where we savor the 6th jhana's sphere of infinite awareness, which is, of course, the opposite of feeling mentally compressed. We do so, as we allow our mind to gladden us towards it, we gently smile once again from the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eyes. And it just dawned on me that when I'm playing with my fingers and my face, I have a flashback to Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal of the Joker. During our inhalation, we silently and mentally recite the monosyllabic verb grin. During the exhalation, we silently and mentally recite the phrase, to this mind. If you feel that I have earned it, you could type something in the chat window. You could share this with a friend. You could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could support this channel on Patreon. Either way, in approximately 10.5 hours, I intend to return to lead tomorrow's early morning meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.